This evening on Entertain the Geeky, we are going to be hosting a debate. This has been a highly crazy debate for years. That's right, I said highly crazy, because people get high and debate this like crazy. Star Wars or Star Trek? Which is better and why? This evening, we've got our man Jeff speaking on behalf of Star Wars, and then we have Roger debating for Star Trek. This is going to be a semi-structured debate. It's going to be ish. It's going to be ish.
Let's be honest. We're going to be cursing at each other by the end.
Yeah, this is going to be bad.
Oh, he pulls out the stopwatch.
Yeah, we need a stopwatch for this.
Jeff is structuring everything here. All right, so I'm going to give each of you a minute to just make an opening statement. Jeff, since you're the guest here, I'm going to let you go ahead and kick us off.
Okay. All right, here's my opening statement for Star Wars, okay? Star Wars is science fantasy at its greatest. It has the scale, it has the beautiful landscapes, the sweeping soundtrack, the kung fu judo action of the lightsaber duels, and it just has so much going into it that I feel that a televised series with a couple movies can't really combat with. So I believe because of that, Star Wars is the greater space franchise.
Roger, 30-second opening statement.
30 seconds? I get a minute, son.
Yeah, you can use your minute. I didn't need mine.
He didn't need his minute. He played his case.
Well, quit talking your shit.
50 years of the greatest science fiction adventure. Not just science fiction adventure, but the humankind adventure. Proves that Star Trek will always be superior to Star Wars and more than just action. It's a thinking man's sci-fi. The science that was done in the 60s, we have seen today. All Star Wars has is religion versus religion. And one family's struggle through the saga. As my opponent stated in his opening statements, a couple of movies, we'll even take the JJs out. We still have 10 to your 7. We have more movies than you. We have more shows than you.
8.
Yeah.
Fact checking. There's 8.
8 Star Wars movies?
Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
Oh, yeah.
All right, and that's going to conclude your time, Roger. So, now one of the things that I'd like to ask is, which one has a more realistic story as it pertains to the human condition?
I'll let Star Wars go.
No, I went first on this, okay? I want you to go first on this one. So we're going to the realistic story.
Yeah,
with regards to the human condition.
Correct.
Obviously, Star Trek. It's grounded in realism. It's the science is backed by science. There's only a few things that we don't think we can ever do, and that is the transporter. And maybe the food replicator. That's really the only true bits of we can't figure out how this stuff works in Star Trek. Also, Star Trek at its core is about human exploration. That's what makes us human. The desire to know what's beyond that rock down the street. We're explorers in our heart. And that truly is what Star Trek is about. That's my 30 seconds.
You had a full minute.
Oh, I thought I had 30 seconds on that one.
No.
I did start the timer a bit late.
Well, yeah.
50 more seconds.
15 seconds.
Oh, well, no, we're good. I yield the rest of my time.
You're happy with that?
I'm happy with that.
All right, Jeff?
Okay, well, sure, it has some creditable science to it, but I don't think that has anything to do with the human condition. You mentioned that humans are explorers at heart, but you know, a lot of the time spent in the show is spent inside that ship. In the meantime, in Star Wars, you are just constantly bouncing from planet to planet. You as the viewer are exploring these places. You know, you're seeing the sandy vistas, the massive forests, and all the different creatures that live within them. In addition, I feel like Star Wars tackles the human condition of good versus evil. I mean, I don't even have to explain that. It's the center point to all of the conflict that occurs is the good versus evil and what is associated with that, and characters battling with it internally and externally.
Roger, rebuttal.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you might want to start the timer at 30 seconds here, son.
I can't do seconds.
Son.
I'm playing with 30 seconds.
All right. First off, you talk about the grandiose that we've seen. Let's see. On the Star Wars movies, on the original trilogy, we had Yavin, Dagobah, Endor, Tatooine, Hoth, and Cloud City. You had 6 planets. We cover that in half a season. Yeah, we're on a little ship.
How many episodes are in a season?
24.
Okay. I'm just so in 24 pieces of screen time, you get 6. Okay.
No, 12.
12.
Maybe 8.
All right, I'm just asking.
Yeah.
You can have that time back. I just wanted to clarify for the listeners.
Kind of interrupted his 30-second rebuttal there. At a
you're on a tiny ship flying through space, exploring. Star Wars, and you brought up the good versus evil. All you're really talking about is a religious war. You're back to Muslims versus Christians. That's all we're seeing. 2 sides of an opposite coin, and that's the boiling down point. Yeah, it's not father and son. It's light side, dark side, and you're assuming the dark side's evil just because it's the Empire.
Yeah, that's more than 30 seconds there.
It happens. It happens.
Okay,
go ahead.
Can I get a 30 seconds?
You get your 30-second
all
rebuttal.
right. I feel that it is certainly about religion, but with regards to the human condition, I'd say that religion is a big part of being human. It's about trying to make sense of things that you don't understand. Humans have had religion for almost as long as we've been a civilization. So I think just the fact that religion is so important in Star Wars makes it even more relatable to the human condition.
I think that makes for an interesting next question. So, both of these series have they're civilizations, very very different in how the government runs things or how things are conducted. Which one do you find to be more real world? This is actually Roger. You're going to start this one.
I started the last one.
Okay,
Governments
Jeff?
we're talking about?
Yeah, so we're talking about governing bodies in these series or shows or movies or whatever.
That's interesting.
Because you'd said civilization, so that begs the question. With civilization, we have governing.
Poor Jeff. He's like, wait, my movies are about destroying the government.
Okay, fine. You know what? I'll
well,
do
hold
this.
on. No. I'm not going to debate for you.
You know what? Okay, I'll start with this. I'll just say this. I don't have much, because this is a hard point for me to make against Star Trek, which has a lot of government conflict. But I will say this, that when Trump was elected president, you didn't see anybody comparing his presidency to a government body in Star Trek, okay? You saw them comparing Trump's presidency to, the First Order in this episode 7, or,
Episode 4.
or the Empire in all the other episodes. So there you go.
First off, when Trump did win, you did have that. They compared him to the Ferengis. But more to the actual question, Star Wars is definitely a pop culture thing that the neo-nerds like to pop on to feel like they're science fiction geeks. Which, that's fine. But true geekdom is knowing Star Trek and being able to pull out that Ferengi reference. The government bodies of Star Trek, one, you have the Federation, which is a nice idea of a utopia. But even if you're not for that, there's still capitalism in the universe. There's still the military dictatorships of the Cardassian Empire and the Klingon Empire. There's still the kind of isolationist of the Romulans. Star Trek does a very good job of showing how different governments can still work together, even with different core beliefs.
Now, both of these science fiction pieces are huge moneymakers.
Oh, Star Wars wins hands down. Hands down, Star Wars makes more money than Star Trek. I mean, I can't even. Yeah.
Okay.
You get that one. They got the fucking mouse now. I mean,
It's that merchandising.
They've got that in spades.
Okay. So, from a financial aspect, then Star Wars wins.
I would say so. And it's really hard. Before you could say, well, Star Trek had movies and a TV show, but now that Star Wars is getting with Rebels and stuff like that, it's getting very hard.
Yeah.
No, Star Wars wins.
Yeah.
Star Wars makes more money hand down.
Okay.
That's yeah.
Then we'll transition that into a different question.
There's always a topic where you can't, like the government question. You really couldn't debate that And then the money question,
Well,
I really
I
could.
felt I made a good point.
The
though.
government one, I feel like I could have debated the government one. Sorry, Jeff.
It's okay.
Just piss all over his Cheerios.
No. His Cheerios are delicious. And I'm gonna let him eat his Cheerios. So, okay, the mouse has more money. I get it. Good God, I should have prepared a list of questions for this.
I asked if we should.
Yeah, no, that's. But I can't give you guys questions. So,
How about we just name like main characters?
You
Main
want- you
characters,
want-
main
no.
characters.
You want
So
to
I
square
do
off
have
the
one.
next 10 minutes? Okay, what's your next
everybody,
question?
shut up. This is a debate.
Sure.
I'm moderating.
Sorry.
Go fuck yourself, Chris.
So we do have a shared director with Star Wars and
no.
Star Trek.
No!
I want you to make a case with what he was able to do with that property. Jeff, you're going to start this one off.
Okay.
Because the last question kind of got swiped away from me a little bit here.
Okay, well, if you say so. All right. So I think what he did best with Episode 7 was reinvigorate a franchise that a lot of people had lost hope for in the cinematic universe, simply by bringing back a lot of the how to call them, maybe cliches is a bad word, but he brought in a lot of callbacks from the original trilogy, and I feel like that just brought positive vibes out of everybody when they were watching it, you know. Oh, 30 seconds? I thought we were doing a minute.
No,
on
get
our
your
edition.
minute.
going,
Get your
keep
minute.
going.
In. Get your minute. In.
No, I lost my flow. I can't do it.
Oh.
Anyway, but yeah, people, you know, they went to see this new movie that had been that had made more references to the better part of the franchise, and yeah, it got them excited.
God damn it. I can't believe I'm doing this.
I did this for you, buddy.
Oh my God. All right, I'm about to do something. Star Trek fans, I don't mean to do this, but it's for the greater good. You can start my time.
Okay, good.
Yes, J.J. Abrams did do Star Trek and Star Trek Into Darkness. You know what he did with those movies? He reinvigorated the franchise for the new children of the world.
The next generation.
The next generation of Star Trek fans, which these movies have made $1 billion, millions upon millions of dollars with these two films alone. Do you know what, though? He didn't revisit and remake a movie to continue the Star Trek. He went through and was like, Star Trek 1, yeah, we're going to fuck the timeline up. I'm giving you a different Kirk. I'm giving you a different Spock. I'm giving you a different cast of crews because that's the only way we can make it work with different actors. What to do with Episode 7? Let's make A New Hope. And let's fuck it up. Less lens flares. I'll give him that. He did really calm down on lens flares. But he made Episode 4 poorly. That's what Episode 7 was. At least with Star Trek, he gave it a shot. Good or bad, he tried to do something completely different with the universe. I will never defend him again.
Hey, can I get a rebuttal?
Please.
Oh,
Okay.
rebuttal away.
Okay. Maybe the fact that he went back and referenced a lot of the themes in the original trilogy speaks to the strength of that trilogy. Maybe that he had to reinvent the Star Trek franchise in his movies speaks to how the previous, style and themes are kind of dated now. And so he had to abandon all that and, ignore all of the interpersonal drama to bring it to a more Hollywood level, where with Star Trek, he had everything he needed right there. He only needed to...
You mean Star Wars.
With Star Wars, sorry. Yeah, he had everything he needed right there. He only needed to
So
go back, do some research, learn.
So what you're saying is really all they had to do is remake a movie from 1977 to be successful, as opposed to, I don't know, get off his ass and actually do some thinking.
Yeah, because
Star Trek is the thinking man's sci-fi, as we established in my opening statements, and you just pretty much said that Star Wars fans will get spoon-fed the same crap over and over and be happy.
I would say that more like it holds up.
If it holds up, they should just re-release the new special editions done by George Lucas. I mean, obviously, he had nowhere to go because the prequels were so bad. At least with Star Trek, he went a whole different way.
All right, now here I'm going to cut you off, Roger. Okay? Now, both of these series handle conflict resolution very differently. State your case for why Star Wars does it better or why Star Trek does it better.
All right, he's got to go 1st.
I'll go first on
is
this one.
first on this
I
one.
went first in the last two.
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
So this is Roger.
So, the thing is, Star Trek handles its conflicts very differently, even by show. But at the core, it's about finding a peaceful resolution to conflicts. Sometimes it works. Diplomacy works. Sometimes it doesn't, and we got to shove a photon torpedo up a Klingon's ass. But the fact is, in this universe, they're willing to do what needs to be done to make sure peace goes on. They've had wars. They've had conflicts. They're not fighting the same battles over and over. Look at the Klingon Empire and the Federation. The prime example there. These two mighty factions are at war for hundreds of years, 50 years. Just there, ready to be a powder keg. They've gone to war. They've gone to a Cold War, and then at the time of Klingon's need, where the species looked like it was about to be wiped out, the Federation stepped up and said, "Let's give peace a chance. Let's have this Khitomer Accord." All Star Wars does is they blow up planets and then blow up the Death Star.
Jeff?
Well, I think it's well and good that they approach every conflict and try to reach a peaceful resolution, but I feel like if we're comparing this to like modern government, that's a little bit, it's a little too hopeful, almost idealistic ways conflict should be resolved. If you look at the episodes 1, 2, and 3, that has a lot of, backhanded political manipulation, stick with me here. People trying to reach peaceful resolutions all the time, but, in reality, there's one person benefiting from it all. I just feel that's more interesting than everybody just hoping for peace every time.
So, we'll get my rebuttal in here.
Yeah.
The entire story arc of Deep Space Nine was the Dominion War. And how the Federation had to have war, and how we went through war, not just as people were dying left and right. The Federation knows what war is. And when it came time to actually defeat the Dominion, which they did, they sat down and had their peace treaty. It's not hopeful. It's realistic. World War II, after we had Japan bombed into submission, we had peace accords. That's just how it happens. War does happen. But once the war is done, you move on. And that's what Star Trek has shown us.
Any rebuttal, Jeff?
No, I don't have a rebuttal.
That's right!
You sit down! You sit down!
Sit down! Shut up with your religious wars.
Okay, so in both franchises, you do see different currencies and different forms of trade. Okay? Which one has a more stabilized economy?
Ooh.
That's hard to answer.
Yeah. I'll go on this. I will say the Federation, one, because their economy has evolved past just general dollars and cents. You really don't get paid, especially from TNG up. You don't get paid. You're doing it for the betterment of man. You're doing it for man's knowledge. And Starfleet...
So communism.
Kind of, yeah, except... When you look at like Jake Sisko's, whose father decided just to open up a Creole restaurant because that's what he wanted to do, and he works his butt off every day there. It lets you explore, and as a society, lets you explore your natural talents and go that way. Now in TOS, you did get paid. There was an economy. You got paid. You had dollars. You had cents, and it still worked.
Jeff?
I mean, if we're talking about economy stability, I don't think you can beat Star Wars just because they have an entire trade federation
that got blown up.
Hey, let him finish.
Sure, it got blown up, but I mean, while it existed, it managed trade throughout the entire galaxy. So there's no like this weird honor system that's being upheld. There's no like conflicting currencies that are bashing into each other. It's just one universal.
I'm a Jordarian. Republic credits won't work here. There was
I need something more real. That is
even in the prequels, when the Republic was at the height of its power, you had different currencies.
But
okay,
different
that's outside
Hold
of
on,
the
time out. Back to the initial question. Currencies do not dictate a thriving economy.
You're right.
So
there was more poor people in Star Wars than there were in Star Trek. They had slaves.
Well, I mean, you followed a lot of poor people in Star Wars. I'm sure if there was this entire series of movies where you followed an important person, in the Empire, you might see an entirely different Star Wars.
I don't know. I mean, the Death Star seemed all shiny and new, but the Stormtroopers didn't seem to have a good go of it. I'm just saying.
They were neatly polished uniforms, but I'll let that slide. So, closing statements, gentlemen.
No. There's one more. There's one more key factor here, though. like spacecraft, X-wing versus Defiant. God,
Okay.
we haven't even touched. There was so much more stuff that
Spacecraft?
Yeah.
Interesting spacecraft?
Okay, okay,
Okay,
so
so a giant cube versus a giant sphere.
yes, yes.
Yeah,
Ball versus
I mean,
cube.
I mean, yeah, that's interesting.
So, which
All right, well, I think Star Wars wins on spacecraft just because they made so much money off of the merchandising from selling their toys, okay? And they weren't just selling action figures, they were selling the spacecraft. That is why Star Wars has made so much money.
Let me make a real question out of this.
Okay.
Which, if a fleet from Star Wars squared off against a fleet from Star Trek, which would win and why?
Well,
and we'll say, hold on, we're gonna say you've got a Borg cube, a Death Star, Imperial destroyers, and what's the equivalent of that for the Borg?
Oh, for the Borg, they have cubes.
It's just cubes. Okay, so you have lots of cubes.
I don't need lots of cubes. I just need 3. I mean, yeah, you're going to take one down with the Death Star, but we'll take that one down, and then nothing will stop the cubes after that. The cubes just repair themselves. That's what they do.
But if it's one-on-one...
It would be. It'd be like a fleet battle. So we'd be coming in, cruising in, blowing shit up. We'd win. We'd assimilate. The first thing we would do is we'd assimilate the Star Destroyer and just blow up the Death Star because it's got the exhaust port we can hit.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Borg would win.
I think the Borg just would end up. Here we go. Here, I'll propose a question. This one's going a little bit longer. Which universe has the greater threat? You know, the Empire, the dark side, the Borg. You know, I mean, which one is a greater threat? I say with the Borg. I think the Borg are the greater threat. Obviously, I'm on the Star Trek side, but whereas with the Empire, you did have, for the most part, we don't really know the atrocities of the Empire. We're told that they're bad. We're told that they're bad. We don't know from the original trilogy why they're bad. We're just told they're bad.
They
blew up a
destroy
planet.
a fucking planet.
That's no different than the United States bombing a terrorist city. It's just the way, they're harboring terrorists.
So you destroy an entire planet full of people. I see where your mind is, Trekkie.
Yeah.
I mean, I would argue
But
that...
the Borg just assimilate and take everything away from you, and they don't care.
I mean, but if you think, like, without these crucial weaknesses that these like the Death Star and the Death Planet or whatever from episode 7.
Death Star 3.
If we ignore their crucial weaknesses, they are huge threats because they're just these long-range weapons that you can do nothing about.
Yeah, and the Romulans sat there and had an entire war with the Federation by launching missiles and lasers from their side. In the Romulan Federation war, we never saw each other. They sent drones and missiles. There was no ship-to-ship combat. We didn't see a Romulan until the TOS episode Balance of Terror. And that's how it stayed in the timeline.
Hand-to-hand combat.
Klingons.
Jedis.
Technical difficulties, my sincerest apology. So one-on-one combat is where we were at. Yeah.
You're going to pick a Jedi?
Yeah, Jedi.
That's really hard to beat for me. I mean, part of me goes Klingon or Changeling, or, maybe the Ferengi just pays somebody to kill him. Jedis, yeah.
It's kind of hard to beat precognition.
Except they did beat precognition, and they all got shot down by a bunch of clone troopers. So I'm pretty sure a highly trained warrior could kill a Jedi.
I mean, but in one-on-one combat, that's an army of
it's
people.
It's going to be a fight.
Collapsing on a group of people that are just sitting there, like fish in a barrel.
It's going to be a fight, but
one-on-one, I don't think a Jedi
here's the thing, though. Klingons have a saying. You can break every bone in the Klingon's body. He's still a warrior.
He's not breaking the bones, though. He's slicing off limbs.
He's still a warrior. The only way to
How are you going to stop?
The only way to stop a Klingon is to destroy his heart, and that's why he has 2. I mean, that's the old Klingon saying.
Okay, well, then
these
he's
people
just
take pain sticks.
Yeah,
it's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard.
Yeah.
It's a hard fight.
A metal and flesh melting laser sword.
What if you took the lightsaber
wielded by a judo master?
What if you took the lightsaber out of it and I just gave him like an actual sword?
So you're talking about a warrior monk?
Yeah.
That can use mystical powers.
Are we talking hand-to-hand combat? Are we allowing weapons?
Even if he doesn't have the weapon, he has the the Force. So, is it hand-to-hand combat when I can just choke you out from a safe distance?
Yeah, whatever. That's no honor. The Klingon wouldn't even fight you at that point. You fight with no honor.
Hey, still wins.
Fight with no honor.
Yeah, so the Klingon lose that one. That's what it sounded like. All right, what else do you guys got? What kind of juicy shit can we get into?
I think, well, it's getting that time, though. I think let's wrap it up with our closing statements.
Well, before that, I think our moderator should declare a winner.
No, you have to wait for closing statements.
I gotta
really?
hold on. Time out.
Closing statements.
We have closing statements, and the moderator does not declare the winner.
Podcast closing statements.
No. Closing statements. So, who's going?
I will go since he opened. I will let him have the final word.
Okay, fine.
What? No, I do. What? I'm so confused now.
Oh wait, no, you said.
Yeah,
okay.
I will go first.
You go first. Okay.
Do you want to go first?
No, you go first.
You go first.
No,
I'll go
no,
first.
no.
Okay.
Be my guest.
Be your guest. Don't you take no notes on this shit.
Well, I'm gonna write down some things so I don't forget.
While Star Wars may be more action-packed and fancy, it is truly just an action movie. The science isn't really there. When you talk science, the greatest science fiction, you have to look towards the science. And the science has been there for Star Trek. Star Trek has shown us a better way for humanity to live, a better way for us to be, and a way for us to actually exist. It has allowed us to explore and do things that we didn't think were possible. You watch Star Trek not just for entertainment, but to actually learn something. You had a show that was 8 years of nothing but moral plays. It wasn't just one story through 8 different movies now. It wasn't just one father. It's the crew of the Enterprise and the people they meet. It's the crew of Deep Space Nine and Voyager. These are the voyages that make Star Trek great. Star Wars, it's cute. It's an action movie. It's not science fiction. It's not the greatest.
Jeff, closing statement?
Well, I just like to point out that I've never called, during this debate, Star Wars science fiction. It is more accurately described as science fantasy. I said science fantasy at the beginning of this whole thing, but I guess, listening to the podcast, you'll figure it out. Anyways, sure, Star Trek has the realism, but I feel that in a medium like movies and TV, there's definitely an escapism aspect to it. You're going into a new universe to escape from reality, and I think that Star Wars does a much better job of that. And it adheres to the very classical storytelling structure that we've known, since mythology, like Greek mythology. It's the hero's journey. It's good versus evil. It's overcoming your adversity. And it's in very broad strokes that anybody could relate to.
You have all that in Star Trek. And more.
All right, guys. So, I will not declare a winner. That is for you, the listeners, to decide.
Okay.
So, guys, in the comments, let us know who won and why. Star Wars or Star Trek?
And what you actually think about this topic. Which one do you think is better and why? And
yeah, you guys can continue this debate in the comments.
Please do. I would love to talk about this for more than just 30 minutes.
So...
I would love for a bigger fan of Star Wars to come talk about this.
I could have done it.
We couldn't have Joe Moore on because me and him would just start throwing poo at each other.
Yeah, that would turn into a shit fest real fast.
He would start talking expanded universe, and I would tell him to suck my cock because it's not canon anymore.
Parts
it's a
of
whole
it
thing.
Parts of it are. So guys, go to entertainthegeeky.com. You can find links to all of our social media there. Andy Yang, the web designer extraordinaire, has been working diligently to make sure that you can get all your jollies off in one spot. Yeah, so guys.
And next week for our debate episode, it'll be Alien or Predator.
Ooh.
Which one is better and why?
Alien versus Predator, okay.
Yeah.
I accept this.
I
I accept
ain't
it.
got time for you to accept this.
So guys, stay geeky.